Okay, I guess I'm live now. I am waiting for Kaarvan to join in. I can't seem to find them here. Hello. Uh, okay. I'm going to give like 2 more minutes for everyone to just join in. Okay, hi. I can't see Kaarvan here though. Okay. Hello everyone. Okay. Okay. Okay, I can see some of the boards are like online. Yes, they are. I just sent them a request. I think they're going to be joining us soon. Um, I can see a lot of familiar faces. Hello, Sharos. Waiting for Kaarvan to join before we begin. Hello, hello, hello. There are so many waves. I'm trying to wave back to everyone. Okay, I think they're just doing. Oh, I think that I just fixed my phone like this. Okay, I have to readjust. Uh, is my internet slow? Is this me? Uh,
Okay, there we go. Hi.
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I am fantastic for now. So glad to have you join us. Super excited for this live, long overdue. So for everyone who doesn't know, we are having this live session to honor the winners of FFPC number 5. We had collaborated with Kaarvan Crafts Foundation for that particular prompt, and it was one of the best prompts we had. So before we begin, I have worked with Kaarvan, so I know what you guys do, and I'm familiar with everything. But I believe a lot of people here do not know. So if you could, Marshall, tell us a bit about Kaarvan, the mission, what you do, that would be amazing.
Hi, so thank you, Baini, for having this collaboration. It was a great initiative. So basically, Kaarvan Crafts Foundation is about empowering rural women. It's about having them craft their own livelihoods. So since 2004, we have been giving them opportunities for income generation to the rural community women. So through conventional means and digital means of market linkages, and also collaborating with the youth, trying to bridge the urban-rural disconnect. So Buy Me was a great initiative in that also.
Yes, you guys do a great work here. I love what you do, and I think it's so important what you do. And we were just as honored and happy to have you collaborate with us. If any of you do not know, the prompt for FFPC number 5 was, if objects had a voice, what would they say? So Marshall, I think, coined in the prompt from Kaarvan. And Marshall, could you tell us a bit about the prompt and what was the target and what you wanted the writers to do in this sphere?
So basically, the prompt was asking about, just say, if objects had a voice, what would they say? The idea came from, let's say, growing up, like boys and girls have very different colors and toys that they do. Like girls are always associated with Barbies, dolls, and the color pink, and boys are always associated with blue and trucks and cars and more like action toys. So we're saying like so that kind of inculcates into our professions also. Okay, when they grow up, they're saying like boys should become doctors, engineers, etc., and girls are more like homebound, and if they do develop, it's more into like teaching roles. So we were just thinking like if objects had a voice and if they had a gender, what would those objects speak to us? So yeah, the poems were actually a good give a new storytelling lens into that.
I think the people, they just really went creative, and I love the poems. We had so many great poems, and it was super hard for us at Buy Me to pick. Even though we gave ourselves enough margin, we said we'll pick the top 10, and even picking the top 10 was difficult. And the number one and number two of this contest, they was just amazing. So we're not going to have this like very long live session. We're going to keep it very short because we know people can get bored. So let's just get into the poems. So whom should I read first? I think I will go with the the one who won second place in the contest. Her Instagram handle is verse_Atlee, and she is an amazing writer. I've read several of her poems. She participates in FFPC very often, and she has these amazing poems. And her poem for this prompt won second place, and you would see why when I read it. I'll have to just okay. So, disclaimer, I'm not very good, I'm not even a good spoken word artist. I don't do this. Anyone who knows me knows that I do not do spoken word poetry. So, I hope I can honor your poems because there is verse-atlee here. I hope she is. I don't know. Okay, so getting into this poem. Um, It is from the perspective of a portrait. Actually, she took the artwork from who's the artist? You for art. That person's a very good artist. So the poem starts dampened to a white bass. I am the 8 by 10 emptiness on your wall you keep staring at. One drunken night you had said you can feel me glaring at you, mocking the flowery verses you once penned and weaved with dreams happy and oh so distant today. I don't. No, I don't intend to tease you with memories of days bygone. Every caffeinated night and Sunday afternoon, how could I? Oh, how I wish I could pick up a brush and paint my existence to an end, lose myself amidst the rest of the concrete bathed in a sea of yellow, beautiful and free. I saw you crumble the day you smashed the frame in a fit of rage, crying yourself hoarse. I saw you falling apart the day you tore the picture into pieces with swollen eyes and a freshly forged numbness. Only if I could tell you what the one smiling and wallowing in your eyes in the picture, the one who left never told you. You were never meant to be one of the sunshine-emitting sunflowers you admired so much. You are the soft breeze that ruffles the tiny dahlia buds on summer evenings, chaperones the children playing in the park on the street back home to the warmth of their mother's fragrant embrace and gentle caresses. You're the balm that calms the distress, the clouds that rain on the parched. You're the night sky that soothes the tormented and sings the birds lullabies and puts them to sleep, a sound sleep. So, very obvious why this was a winner of our contest. As for the prompt, the framework of the prompt nailed it. It's written from the perspective of the object, the portrait, very open to interpretation. And okay, Marshall, do you have something to add? I just got carried away with the comments for a while. I'd love to hear your perspective on this poem.
So I think it's kind of very like I love that it's open ended. So I think it was just like talking about nostalgia, and I think going back in the past and how the painting was reminding like has all these memories in store with it, and how like your emotions connected to that painting change over time. So I think that's what the poet was I think was trying to
Exactly.
communicate.
Yes, it was very nostalgic. Susan, the poem is by, let me repeat her username, verse underscore. Actually, I'm not good with writing the name, so I can't type it, but I'll share the names in this specific order when I'm done with the live. Again, amazing poems. I loved how the portrait tried to capture the emotions of the person who had painted it. Very artistic, a very beautiful poem, and a clear winner. Um, so, okay, so I should go in right where it hurts is with us. Let me just find her poem. Okay. So since right where it hurts is with us, an amazing artist. Her poem is, again, I mean, all of these poems are amazing, so let me just get into her poem. It's very beautiful. So just a little intro to the poem. She took the prompt because she took the aspect where women are treated as objects and made the object a woman and wrote from that perspective, and it is very artistic. And obviously when I read it and try not to slaughter it, you will know why. So let me just start. These objects have openings put up for auction by men. If she could speak, they would talk over her voice until it is a distortion of sound waves. They would choke her until she spits out her words. Her words would be a candle in the wind. Oh shit. Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. I backed. I'm just going to do it again. These objects have openings put up for auction by men. If she could speak, they would talk over her voice until it is a distortion of sound waves. They would choke her until she spits out her words. Her words would be a candle in the wind. They would strangle her until she coughs out a throbbing larynx. Her words would be a dust in Brownian motion. They would put a fist in her mouth to muffle her protests. Her words would be an echo lost in the valleys. She would have to open each stitch of her sewed-up mouth and struggle with each phonetic. So they place her on the mantelpiece and carve a shrieking smile. She wouldn't know how to form certain words with her chewed-up tongue, so they bring in a ventriloquist and shove obedience between her teeth. And she bites her gums until she has to gargle with her blood. They plait her hair, dress her in pink petals, place her in a dollhouse, but the ceiling is made of cement. They made the ceiling in cement because glass is easier to break through. There is a shrill scream trapped in her jugular region, but by the time it crawls out, it becomes a whimper. If you reach inside her throat, you would find a dead foal with wings shorn and strings slit. Before she can unfurl her words, they wring her by the neck. So, again, a very beautiful poem. I love so many things about this poem. Super empowering, super important. Can the audience join? I think the audience is with us. Yes, the imagery, Susan, exactly, is beautiful. And I love how she handled the prompt, how she took the narrative, and it was just very emotional. And I love anything to do with women empowerment. I think it's super important, super neglected, and she did justice to the poem. I mean, each poem I'm going to read is a winner through and through. So, Marshall, would you like to add something?
Nay, I think you captured it beautifully. I mean, I swear, like all these poems are like so deep. First, the first time you read it, it's like it doesn't even sink in. You have to read each poem, I think, like 2 or 3 times for actually to get the essence of it.
Yes, I mean, you cannot appreciate these poems enough because they're so amazing. I cannot, find the words to express how much I love these poems. Right terms, I would accept requests from the people I'm reading. If any one of the poets who I'm reading want to read their piece out loud, no, I actually can't. 3 people can't join in the live. Oh,
Well, I can leave
my
this
bad.
game and the points
No.
will let me join, so that's perfectly fine. I don't mind doing that.
We could do that. We could do that for the next live. I have some on poverty. We would love to hear that items in another session when we host it on By Me. For this session, we're going to be honoring our winners. Let me just see who is there. Anyone? Is any of the winners online here that I could read? Let me see. I'm really trying to keep the first winner for last because that poem is really. Let me just zoom in. I'm going to read S. Dot Sunflower Inks. Is this poet here with us? The Instagram handle is S. Dot Sunflower Inks. Um, so um, okay. So let me just get into this poem. If objects had a voice, my phone would say it misses your texts, the ones with how you're doing and your silly jokes. If objects had a voice, my earphones would say keep playing this song on repeat, the one that makes me think of you. If objects had a voice, my diary would say keep writing about him, keep him alive in your words for eternity, if he couldn't be in reality. If objects had a voice, my pen would say, I'm drained of the ink, but do not stop painting these pictures of you and him. If objects had a voice, my shoes would say, why are you not taking a step towards him? If objects had a voice, my clothes would say, they miss your smell. If objects had a voice, my window would say, it misses the view of you coming to meet me. Yes, if objects had a voice, everything around me would scream at me, ask me about your absence. They would cry and beg me to bring you back, and maybe I would. But then again, it's if the objects had a voice, and they don't. So I think I think the poem was very simple. It got the prompt. The perspective of several objects was taken into account. I especially loved the ending. It kind of had like a nice, concluded the whole poem very nicely. The poem was by S. Sunflower Inks. Great poem, loved it. Very obvious why you were in the top 10. Um, we how many poems am I done with? Uh, I don't. I think I'm done with three.
Yeah, did
Okay,
three.
so the three amazing poems. So I love how they're of like a good length.
Hmm.
Yes, the refrain was amazing, Susan. I think it was very smart, and it didn't get very boring and monotonous while I was reading through it. So the fourth poem is by Rosemary Baker Poetry. I'm not sure if she's with us. I hope she is, or at least she catches us on the reading. So it's a short poem, but I really liked it. So it is from the perspective of an apple. Is that right? Yes. Okay. So I lay here with red blush skin, anxiously waiting for who will pick me. Will it be soft, gentle fingers that grab me, or rough, calloused hands after a long day of work? Will they cut a knife right through me, or take strong yet soft bites until my core is exposed? I hope they'll enjoy me. While my juices still flow, I hope they pick me before my flavor becomes less desirable. And when they get to the inner me, I know I will be tossed away. But that's okay, because when I do reach my final destination, I will become one with the earth to grow once more, so that the next person can take a bite. After all, that's what I am made for. So, again, Rosemary, beautiful poem. I very simple, kept it very simple, focused on the prompt, nailed the prompt. She took a very commonly found object, an apple, and give a nice like touch to it. I mean, when you're looking at an apple, you don't really think too much about it. It's like, oh, it's an apple, and I'm going to like it if it's good. So good job staying true to the prompt, giving us a perspective of the apple. I wouldn't have thought of the apple that way. That is another one down. Who am I going to read? Hmm. Okay, so we have this one. This is by Smeared with Crimson. Is this poet here with us? Uh, I do not know if this poet is here with us, but I know, Marshall, you really loved the typewriter poem. So I am really going to ask you to, have coin in something to with regard to this poem. So let me just get into this one. Okay, so a really great thing about this poem is that this person it has a typewriter. Actually, the typewriter's name is Caroline, and she basically gave her own precious typewriter a voice, which was very it was like a very good idea to do that. I wouldn't have thought of that. So let me just begin. I have a hard time navigating through these poems because I'm not very tech savvy. Okay, so it starts with, "Hello, I am a typewriter. I've been loved and pre-loved. My keepers may change from time to time, but still I'm breathing and hopefully alive. It's a tragic world where everything old and boring eventually gets thrown away, sometimes replaced, sometimes misplaced. But I am grateful to still be in existence. Perhaps not wanted by everyone, but just a few would do. I am glad to see that there are people who still hold on to antiquity. My owner is one. I love how excited she becomes while using me, her soft and elegant touch of fingers on my incommodious keys. Oh, the joy she feels, tingling up her spine with every sound of my click. I once felt her typing how she believes that to her ears, my keys are music. I hope she means it when she says that. Because I love how she writes whimsical words and brings them back to life. I feel like I am making a fairly decent contribution to her life. I think words and ideas are the very soul of every poet's work. I do sure as hope that she's pleased to own me. I know I can be demanding at times, but I think that everything archaic is somehow difficult for modern minds to understand and to take care of. So again, an absolutely stellar poem. Loved it. Loved how the she handled the prompt, and I think I made something. How do I will? I'm having some technical issues with my phone right now. Okay, but back. Marshall, could you add something about the poem before I share my perspective? Because I talk too much and I've done something. I've messed up my phone a little. So, could you tell us how you saw the poem? Something about it? What went through your mind when you were reading this?
So I think what I liked about it was like how you need to not take care of the actual objects instead. In this case, it's like the typewriter, and not just like human beings, etc. So I think I like that aspect of care that they were showing to an inanimate object and voicing his thoughts, saying like, okay, I'm not old, but I mean there is some beauty and antiquity, and we should carry on the heritage and history on with us. So yeah.
I think it was a beautiful perspective. I see Smeared with Crimson here, and I am a fan of your poem. Beautiful poem. Very smart, actually, in terms of dealing with the prompt. Absolutely fantastic. And let's just go on to more poems because I feel like we're doing good on time. Actually, not too bad. So who am I going to read next? Um, I think I've lost track. Uh, okay, so I have Anuradha dot writes. I don't know if this person is with us, but they have a really beautiful poem that I will try to do justice to. So you are most welcome, Smeared with Crimson. Honored to have read your poem. Um, Let me just get into this poet. Anuradha dot writes, I will share these names after I'm done with this live. Oh, she's here. Okay, that's amazing. Okay, so if objects had a voice, what would they say? Um, Woke up naked, wrapped in the rose-colored bedsheet that spelled love letter by letter. I turned off the shower, the last drop of water touched me, swathing myself in a towel. I heard closely of the warmth she bestowed, as she told me how much she loved to embrace me. I look up in the mirror. As she smiled back positive affirmations, I smiled back at her. I open the door, and behind the chatter of trees I hear him say, be as brave as you were, as you have always been. The corners of my lips rise a bit. It was another day of smiling at words that hug me the tightest and not stab me yet. So, amazing poem. I absolutely love it. Very open ended. And I think what I really loved about this poem was that it's so positive, and it's like if objects could speak to us, they would uplift us and not, try to put us down when we speak. Where, sometimes humans can tend to, demolish each other with words, and it's nice to imagine that if objects could speak, they wouldn't do that to you, at least. So, an interesting perspective from various objects that we come across in our daily, and a wonderful poem in its respect and all rights. Loved it. So, I am done with how many poems yet? I'm so sorry, I'm so bad at this. So, we have the backspaced thoughts. This is um, another amazing poem. I can't say it's one of my favorites because all 10 of these are my favorites and I love all of them. But I mean, this poem is super open ended. So you can have your own interpretations of it. But it is super beautiful. It is by the backspaced thoughts. I don't know if this poet is with us. So let me just dive into this. Welcome to my home, a home I made out of my mended bones. You walk in, and an empty cracked glass clinks over your foot, carrying my parched soul on the rim. It narrates you the story of my fragility, my vain efforts to fill myself, waiting for someone to take a sip. You are served with my cries, the ink spread thin upon this page, voices the words that I plucked from the fray, and hands them to you in ordered memoirs. The metaphors and similes read you my life. The dripping ink from the slender pen screams at you in my pain. You catch your reflection in the mirror and watch it turn into a furnace, hearing the crackling of my hopes burn to the ground. Your palms are filled with my ashes as you add more depth to my grave. The abyss becomes the new mirror, echoing the songs of my suffering. These walls that confined me whisper to you wails I squelched while my breath was changed. Their raw marks still stain my wrist. They will translate the story that the language of my eyes resisted, of how I etched words of gloom like wounds in my skin. You chase the shadows of light in efforts to find me. I come wrapped in haste, close enough to touch, and yet I escape at the tips of your fingertips, leaving you a torn, incomplete poem that lies scattered. At the sound of bullets I fired at myself, and my perfect set of line phrases only one name, held in suspension. Why, oh, you. Amazing poem. Absolutely love the flow of it. The font was a little hard on the eyes. I had trouble keeping up. Um, um, Again, an amazing piece. It's very open ended, and I think some of the metaphors and some of the lines were absolutely amazing, brilliant, so brilliant. Like this line, how I etched words of gloom like wounds in my skin. While I was reading this piece, I was like super, I don't know, Amazed, actually. But so would you like to add something? I don't know. These poems are so great. I feel like I can't say enough to do justice to them.
Um, this one especially, I mean, I still have a hard time, like you said, so open ended, like comprehending. Like I get the emotions, but I'm like I have a, like I just can't describe like since I'm not the poem. Like I don't know. It's like I think it's kind of like poems art like artworks, and only the artist can do justice to define like my intent was this, or maybe they just want to leave it so open ended so you can actually like each one can define it for themselves.
Exactly. I actually love open-ended poems
Yeah,
because it gives you more room to relate to you.
yeah,
You don't know. I love poems like that. I think it's very clever, very artistic, and very smart, and very well done. A clear top 10. So
yeah.
I am done with a lot of poems. I think I have three more, if I'm not wrong. Three more to go through. So, do we have Cindercone Crucible here? I don't know if we have this person here, but they wrote an amazing poem. They also have they've also put a description of their poem in the caption, which I also want to read because the interpretation is amazing. So the poem is split into two parts actually. One is from the perspective of the volcano, and the other is from the perspective of the diamond. The font is super small, so I'm just going to have to super zoom into this. Um, so if this person is not here, I'll just start. So part one is the volcano. Oh, Cindercone Crucible is here. Hello. Very nice to have you. And amazing poem. This person writes amazing poems. I am a complete fan. I love the poems they write. They give us some amazing poems. You should definitely check this person out. Okay, so let me just start. Um, Abject torment. These fiery pits, churning, boiling chamber of heat. Look to the surface, the cool mountain air. I sigh, holding myself back in silent compassion, as weeping stones in solitary contemplation of life's cruel torment in these deep recesses. I smolder as skies look down on me, laughing sweet dancing clouds, teasing as I lay buried, jilted by time. And you call me a terror, a calamity, and yet incognizant to my pain, escape. Subdued no more, this broken spirit rushing down these hills, a warranted reprieve. Kissed by the earth in quiet recompense, I cool for an eternity. Part 2, The Diamond. Um, Abject torment. These fiery pits, churning, boiling chamber of heat. Look to my milieu. These forces I smile, holding myself together in silent perseverance of life's great trials in these powerful chambers. I welcome the sharp edges cleaving, kindled by my kin, brooding as I lay burnished, jilted by time. And you call me precious, a beauty, and yet incognizant to my pain, exit rewarded evermore. These broken edges splitting even light, a warranted reverence, kissed by the world in an entranced adoration, I shine for an eternity. Um, very like you don't have to apologize to Undergo Crucible. I think it was very artistic the way you've presented the whole poem. There's only so much space, but amazing poem. Like it is one of my super favorites. They're all my favorites, but this is like an extra favorite because I love the dual perspective and how both of these go through a similar process, and they have two very different outcomes. I'm just going to read a little bit of the caption of this person because I think it really completes the poem. Cindercorn Crucible asks that this poem describes their responses, there being volcano and diamond, to tragedy and how they react to this torment and what they become as a result. It emphasizes that no one response is right or wrong, just that it is simply as nature intended it to be. How you evaluate your circumstances, perspective is uniquely you. What you can stand to do is determined by only you, and thus how you act is entirely up to you. So, thank you for this perspective. Absolutely brilliant poem. Loved it, and uh, everyone can, assume the rest. It's absolutely amazing. So, I hope I did justice to it. I'm not very good at this. So, I don't know if Caroline the poet is here with us. The Instagram handle is Caroline the poet. Um, mm, okay, so let me just read this poem by Caroline. Um, Remember the fields we would frolic in, the dewdrops collecting wet on my pelt. We play so intently, the love you felt, I thought would last forever, never end. Remember the day I was lifted high, sat on a shelf. I thought such an honor, I did not realize I was a goner. It was months before I let myself cry. You paid no attention, no care to impart. You played with people now, no need for me. You left me up there, forced to watch and see, left in a gilded cage, my broken heart. One day you took me down. I filled with hope. You looked at me with remembering eyes. I was sure I would again be your prize. I'd show you all my love and help you cope. My heart overflowed in that instant. Tears would have flooded my eyes if they could. You'll love me again, or I thought you would. But to you, I became non-existent. You placed me in a cardboard bin along with your other disposables. I tried, but it wasn't negotiable. You chose never to see me again. Your decision was made, that was the last. And I'll never forget the joys we shared. I hope you remembered how much I cared, for my love for you cannot be surpassed. No, my love for you cannot be surpassed. So, amazing job with the poem. This poem was from the perspective of a stuffed toy. We've most all of us have played with one at a certain point, and I used to sleep with mine. My baby sister still does, although she's not a baby anymore. But it's like we're so fond of these, and there comes a point we outgrow them, and they're just left boxed up. You give them away. Some people throw them away. I threw mine away. So it was a nice perspective, very nostalgic. It made me remember all my mutilated stuffed toys. I felt a little guilty after reading this poem. But again, a clear top 10 because from the perspective of the object, a unique narrative and very brilliantly done. Yes. So I've lost track of the poems I've read. I think this was my 9th poem. I hope I do not miss out on anyone. Yes, it was the 9th poem, and I am left with the winner of FFPC by me. The Instagram handle of this person is kernel.panic1. I can tell you the person. The poem is featured on Kaarvan as well. I'm sorry for making people cry. It's the artist, not me. But so let me just get into our final poem. Before I read the final poem, the Instagram handle is kernel.panic1. This poem is from the perspective of vase. And I mean, I've read this poem, I know this poem, so I just want to start saying awesome things about this poem, but I should really give you guys some perspective. So the poem is titled A Vase Speaks by kernel.panic1. So let me just zoom in. The font is super small. Okay. We're born differently. The hands of a potter spun his wheel to birth my body from earth. My sisters were thin glazed. My friends welded from scrap steel on a tabletop. We're formed differently. Some of us bend and curve, a dance of bone, china, and clay. Some of us refuse to sway, aluminum and brass bodies stretching straight for the skies. We are thick and supple necks, leveled and sloping shoulders, bony and balloon bellies, and everything in between. We're alive differently. In museums under portraits of symmetrical faces, in cottages over the fireplace, among antiques centered of copper and incense within the worship walls of ancient tombs. But we're the same when we're washed, with hungry eyes picking the logs to the mind's attic where limerence hides, never tender, never flecking the irises like powdered sugar, but slobbering over them like the fleshy jowls of a dust-furred fiend. And the same when we're touched, because they stole us, owned us, our bodies vessels for their stroking fingers scraping us inside out to them. We don't breathe. And the same when we ache, choking on cut flowers burgeoning from stomach to maw, feeling empty still. I mean, I I love this poem. It gave me chills through and through, and um, an obvious winner. This was the first poem I read about this artist. This is the first poem on their page as well, but a stellar poem. And there are so many ways I believe this person did justice to the prompt. Number one, from the perspective of the object, nailed it. Number two, I love how it's very open to interpretation. I mean, it starts with like there's so many bases, and the person tried to show the diversity and basically talk about so the many ways that each vase is different from the other. But towards the end, they sort of concluded with the similarities, and I mean, it's a lot like, there's so much diversity in us human beings. And, but, we're born differently, we're formed differently, we're alive differently. I mean, these three lines from each stanza, and then it goes on, but we're the same when we're washed, and the same when we're touched, and the same when we ache. So, as humans, we're so different from each other in so many ways, but at the end, we feel our basic human emotion is the same. And like a stellar poem, loved it. One of my favorite poems of all time. Absolutely amazing. So, Marshall, I spoke too much. Do you want to add to that?
Nee, I think I'm sure you guys had like there were so many entries. I know selecting top 10 was so difficult, and thank you everyone for participating. And this poem also, like I think you like gave a good analysis of it. Like it's about diversity and like so yeah, I loved about like that's really good. I didn't even see it. I mean, I saw that, and I think once he pinpointed, like oh my god, yes.
Yes, I mean, when I was rereading and recollecting these poems, I just saw them completely differently. It's like, I mean, I was like, oh, I missed this part about this poem. It's like, it was a complete different experience. Reading them again and reading them out loud is completely different. I am so sorry if I butchered anyone's Instagram handle or poem. This is the best spoken word I could do and might do ever. So, we will, I think we should just wrap this up. If anybody has any questions or anything to add, I would check the comments, because I know I have been neglecting the comment section a bit, because I needed to complete this in time, and we made it in good time. It's 8:49 actually where I'm at. So I guess, Marshall, it was very lovely to do this with you. It's like my fourth live, and I never do it alone. So I was very happy to have company on this one as well. So thank you very much for coming on behalf of Kaarvan. It was an absolute pleasure to have you here. And so I